And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. And if you could let me make sure my mic is working good again tonight, please let me do so down there in chat. We still have no co-produce, so all help is appreciated. All right. And tonight, we're going to come talk to you about the Depository Trust Company and what its job is and what all is going on with these securities and all kinds of interesting things. I'm hoping as I go along, I can remember everything. I do have some notes here, but I know there's one thing that I missed. So we're going to have to see if we can find it along the way as it relates to index. So remember, please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. And the PayPal link is down in the details section for anybody that wants to share some love. Always greatly appreciated. And the StreamYard link is pinned, so anybody that wants to join the panel can do so. Please, please join me. In the meantime, we're going to start out with the Depository Trust and what it is. Let me see here. Through Treasury Direct. I don't know if too many people are familiar with Treasury Direct, but we're going to go over that because that's the direct link between the Depository Trust Company and the people and all of the documents that we sign. Every document that we sign is a signed instrument, and that signed instrument is a transfer of property, which is a establishment of a trust. So, as we read here, it says about the treasurydirect.gov. Notice there's no space between Treasury and Direct, and then it's .gov. And actually, Treasury Direct, as we'll see, is a registered trademark. So, it says here, very succinctly, treasurydirect.gov is the one and only place to buy and redeem U.S. savings bonds and other securities. Securities being the prerogative here, directly from U.S. Treasury. Your investments are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. And like I said, folks, the signed instruments that we've been signing all of our life are directly related because they are some form of bond. We know this through the scriptures that say a man is bonded by his words. And therefore the words on the documents that we turn around and sign shows material fact evidence that we have bonded ourselves with the words on that sheet of paper. The next one is 31 CFR 363.10. It says, what is a Treasury Direct? As I said, no space, and it is a registered trade name account. Account being the other prerogative term, securities accounts. Every account is a security. And we're going to find this out as we look. This says, what is a Treasury Direct account? A Treasury Direct account is an online account. In other words, it's an electronic account maintained by us solely in your name, in which you may hold and conduct transactions in eligible book entry Treasury securities. The book entry is the electronic online account. It is accessed by definitive paper forms that you sign. Those definitive paper forms that you sign are converted to electronic book entry accounts. There is a primary account, is the account that you establish when initially opening your Treasury Direct account. The primary account may contain the following Treasury securities. Individual. The individual is established at the SS5 when you turn 18 years of age and fill out an SS5 and hand over the administration of your estate to the state, saying that you are incompetent to do so and you need somebody to do that for you. Individual means a natural person. Account. Account means a Treasury Direct account, as described in 363.10. We're going to take a look at that real quick. Oops, where did we get it? Where did we lose it? Where did we lose it? Oh, we're on it. Duh. That is this code. Duh. My apologies, folks. Brain fart there. Okay, so a primary account for an individual may contain Treasury securities purchased initially as book entry securities that are your personal holdings, registered in single owner, owner with beneficiary, and primary owner with secondary owner forms of registration. Secondary owner, primary owner. Primary owner and secondary owner as it goes to primary billing party and secondary billing party. Contractor and subcontractor. And again, all of those documents you sign are being handed to you by a contractor. You sign them, and it is implied that you are a subcontractor in that performance. Okay? This is going to come in important here when we find out who the beneficiary is. Forms of registration, gifts of savings bonds that have not yet been delivered. Okay? And gifts of savings bonds that have not yet been delivered and converted into savings bonds that were transferred from the conversion linked account. Transfer is a transaction to move a security or a portion of a security to or from a Treasury Direct account. So in case you guys haven't caught on yet, this establishment of the account doesn't matter what kind of account you're opening, it's directly related to the Treasury Direct account. As we see, I don't care if it's a bank account, a school lunch account, an investment account, they're all accounts, and they're all related to the Treasury Direct. They have to be. That's the issuing party. And we're going to talk about that as well, the issuing agent and the paying agent. So we continue on, and it says entities. A primary account for an entity may contain Treasury securities purchased initially as book entry securities registered in the name of the entity and converted savings bonds in the name of the entity that were transferred from the conversion linked account. This is why I mentioned at the beginning of the program that conversion linked account and index. I want to make sure I catch that index wherever I might. I ran across it earlier and forgot to put a note on it. So hopefully we'll run across it again as we're going through here. But the index is where they convert the information, like I've shown on the financial index that I got from the local courthouse. It showed that they converted the last name to a firm name, and they converted the social security number with dashes to an obligor number without dashes. So, as we look at this again, the linked account is an account that is separate, a separate account from your primary account, but that is connected to your primary account. You use your primary account as a portal to open and access the linked account. Linked accounts include the following. Custom account is an account that is linked to your primary account. You use your primary account as a portal to open and access your custom account. So the linked account and the custom account are linked to the primary account, telling us the custom account is a linked account. The minor account is an account established by an individual custodian for an individual who has not yet reached the age of 18 years. We do not permit an entity to open a minor account. A minor account is linked to the custodian's primary account. So if the custodian is part of the federal government, then the custodian itself is the Treasury, and this is why there's a direct link between the Treasury through Treasury Direct and the Depository Trust Company. The Depository Trust Company, as an electronic book entry system, is the credit holder. In case you didn't realize it, money is the definitive paper form. Its equivalent is the electronic form, which is in credits. The minor is the owner of the securities, but custodian controls the account on behalf of the minor. Conversion account means a linked account in Treasury Direct that contains only savings bonds that have been converted from definitive bonds to book entry bonds. This is the conversion account that I'm talking about with the local courts. Their account is a conversion account where they link in Treasury Direct the savings bond that has been converted from the definitive bond, the paper bond, to a electronic book entry. Okay. Real quick here, I want to remind everybody, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button and get the word out. Invite people to join us. So the next one we're talking about is what special terms do I need to know? 331 CFR 363.6. What special terms do I need to know to understand this part? Account means a Treasury Direct account as described in 363.10. Authentication means confirming that the person accessing a Treasury Direct account is the same person whose identity was initially verified at account establishment. Again, when you opened up your Social Security account, that was the establishment of a Treasury Direct account. Automated clearinghouse means a funds transfer system governed by the rules of the National Automated Clearinghouse Association. NACHA provides for the interbank clearing of electronic entries for participating financial institutions. Okay? So when you opened up that Social Security account, the classification became a financial institution. We're going to show you again that's done to the address. Here's where we talk about that second individual as it relates to the accounts we just spoke of with the primary account, individual account, and all of that. Secondary owner. Now the beneficiary refers to the second individual named in the registration of a definitive savings bond. A converted definitive savings bond, or a book entry security purchased through the Treasury Direct system. So when the court pushed this jury duty and decided that there is a failure of someone to appear as a paying agent, and assumed that that guy was a paying agent, and they used his name to access the Treasury Direct for a book entry security purchase, and then named the price at $350, despite the fact that there were zero finances, zero charges, zero long title, zero citation, no bond founded, and yet they felt the need to purchase a security in somebody else's name. Registered example is John Doe, Social Security number 123-45-6789, POD. POD means payable on death to Joseph Doe, SSN 987-65-4321. So they have two different Social Security numbers, and that's because this one is mom or dad, technically dad in most cases, but it's actually mom in this world because mom is the one that signs the original statement of live birth, the definitive paper bond created at enumeration at birth by the birth clerk, who then gets mom to sign as an informant and then has two people sign it as co-trustees of a Sedekv trust, the establishment of a trust by transfer of property. The transfer of property was that statement of live birth. That's real property. It's definitive paper form that mom signed and supposedly handed over rights, titles, and interest to other property. The other property being the name therein under that Social Security number. Book entry security means a treasury security maintained by us in electronic or paperless form as a computer record. Like I said, it's an electronic record. The commercial book entry system refers to the book entry system in which you hold your treasury securities in a tiered system through securities intermediaries such as financial institutions or brokerage firms. And like I said, folks, every time you operate that or sign that document, that paper form, it's being implied that you're a brokerage firm making a firm offer to invest as a financial institution in the securities held by treasuries. You're offering to buy and sell securities through that account. Court means a court of law with jurisdiction over the parties and the subject matter. Conversion account means a linked account in Treasury Direct that contains only savings bonds that have been converted from definitive paper bonds to the electronic book entry bonds. Converted savings bond means a savings bond originally issued as a definitive bond that has been surrendered to us and converted to a book entry savings bond to be maintained by Treasury solely as a computer record. Converting co-owner. Oops. What is a co-owner? Converting co-owner is the co-owner who initiates and completes the transaction to convert a definitive savings bond to a book entry bond through his or her Treasury Direct account. So that clerk down at the local courthouse must have a converting co-owner Treasury Direct account in order to initiate and complete the transactions. Again, folks, it is not the judge that initiates this. It is the clerk. The clerk receives a document, a signed document in definitive paper form, which is a bonding instrument, hands it to the clerk, and the clerk registers it in the court registry investment system in their name as a co-owner through their account. Co-owner means either of the persons named in the registration of a definitive or converted savings bond. Co-owner means either of the persons named in the registration of a definitive or converted savings bond, registered, example, John Doe SSN, or just John Doe. It takes just your name signed on a piece of paper, folks. Custodian of a minor account means a person who opens an account on behalf of the minor. Mom opened an account on behalf of the minor through enumeration at birth. That's when the account was assigned a number according to the name. Then when the young person or young man or woman attained the age of majority, they signed up for an account, and that was the linked account already established. Delivery means moving a minimum amount of $25 consisting of principal and proportionate interest. Folks, check with your Secretary of State and ask them, what does it cost to have you send me a birth certificate from the state and a certificate of live birth or statement of live birth from the local county where I was born? I assure you, almost unequivocally across the board, all states are going to tell you $25. Of a security held as a gift from the account of the purchaser to the account of the recipient. Mom's the one that opened the account. You established the conduct or the capacity of the account when you signed up at 18 to have the state administrate in probate your account. Where again, if you had the wits about you, you'd have never done that. Instead, you would have claimed the account that was being held as a gift. Security. Security means in any instrument or interest described in Section 3A10 of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, 15 U.S.C. 78C A10. So let's take a look at that real quick. The term security means any note. A note is a promise to pay, folks. UCC. It is a note if it is a promise. It is a draft if it is an order. Stock. Treasury stock. Security future. Security-based swap. Bond. 18 U.S.C. 8. Obligations and other securities of the United States starts out with specifically means all bonds. So a security is an obligation or other security of the United States simply as a bond. And every document you sign is bonding your name to the words on that document. That is a bond. So it doesn't have to be certificated. It's just a sheet of paper with words on it with your signature. Debenture, certificate of interest or participation in any profit sharing agreement or in any oil, gas, or other mineral royalty or lease, any collateral trust certificate. When you were born, at enumeration at birth, they established a burial trust. That birth certificate is a collateral trust certificate, and that is what you can use to claim that you are still alive and authenticate that account. Authentication means confirming that the person accessing a Treasury account is the same person whose identity was initially verified at account establishment. The account was established at enumeration at birth. It was opened when you signed the SS5. Pre-organization certificate or subscription, transferable share, investment contract, voting trust certificate, certificate of deposit for a security, any put, call, straddle, option, or privilege on any on any security, certificate of deposit, and here we go, or group or index of securities. So basically, as we read it, or group or index, index would be the same thing as a grouping, I'm sure. Let's take a look at that. Index. The term index means an index or group of securities, a group of securities, including any interest therein or based on the value thereof. On the day that you're born, there are many other people that are born. On that day, all of those people that are born within certain district, each district of the Federal Reserve, 1 through 12, each one that has numerous births in each zone, groups all of those births for that day as a security in the interest of the state. No one else. So, including any interest therein or based on the value thereof, and it's the state that puts the value in it, no one else. Mom didn't put any value on that statement of live birth. No one did anything. So think about this stuff, and let's continue on. As it says, or privilege entered into on a national security exchange relating to foreign currency, or privilege entered into on a national securities exchange relating to foreign currency, and this again is enumeration at birth, upon where a nationality is conferred of a United States citizenship for the resident in the state of which he was born. This is the dual citizenship, resident and United States citizen, creating a false nationality of a United States citizen, because the United States is not a nation, it is a corporation. So if the United States is going to confer a nationality of a United States citizen, and you don't know that the United States is not a nationality, and you accept it, you're accepting a corporate entity. You're accepting that you're going to act as a corporate entity on behalf of that entity for certain liabilities on the forms that you sign. Or in general, any instrument commonly known as a security. And once you put your signature on a document, it is instrumentalized as a security to qualify and validate the information on it, and they will do so by entering it into the electronic forum, and that is the blockchain that says it is validated. Or any certificate of interest or participation in, temporary or interim certificate for, receipt for. When you order that birth certificate and the statement of live birth, you will get a receipt for both of them, one from the state and one from the county. Or warrant, or right to subscribe to, or purchase any of the foregoing. but shall not include currency or any note, draft, bill of exchange, or banker's acceptance which has a maturity at the time of issuance of not exceeding 9 months. So these courts, in my opinion, are running these kinds of notes, bills, drafts, banker's acceptances, which have maturity less than 9 months, exclusive of days of grace or any renewal thereof, the maturity of which is likewise limited. The term equity security. Equity security. Equity security means any stock or similar security, or any security future on any such security, or any security convertible with or without consideration, with or without consideration, with or without consideration into such a security. That's the informant's statement of live birth. There was no consideration, and yet it was converted. Or carrying any warrant or right to subscribe to or purchase such a security, or any such warrant or right, or any other security which the commission shall deem to be of similar nature. Similar nature. Similar nature. And consider necessary or appropriate by such rules and regulations as it may prescribe in the public interest and for the protection of investors to treat as an equity security. I hope you guys are paying attention and sticking with me here, because again, it all goes back to the initial statements upon enumeration at birth that weren't securitized properly by the proper party. And so therefore they were securitized by a public official, and they were entered into electronic book form saying that they are true and accurate, when that is not so. If you did not know what's going on, I'm putting this out there so you can start relating it to yourself and do your research. I don't want you to believe me. This is not legal advice. This is mere my opinion of how I interpret what we're reading. And it's somebody else that's saying it, not me. I'm not saying this stuff. I can't profess that it's truth. All I can do is profess my opinion, and I believe my opinion to be fairly accurate based on what they say. So let's continue on as it relates. Make sure we're continuing with the make sure we've got it. Financial institution or depository financial institution means an entity described in 12 U.S.C. 461 B1A1 through 6. B1A1 through 6 means any insured bank, as defined in Section 3 of the Federal Depository Insurance, or any bank which is eligible to make application to become an insured bank, any mutual savings bank, as defined in Section 3 of the Federal Depository Insurance Act, or any bank which is eligible to make application to become an insured bank, any savings bank as defined in Section 3, any bank which is eligible to make application to become an insured bank. Remember, it's all about insurance. Remember, folks? Any insured credit union as defined in Section 1752 of this title, or any credit union which is eligible to make application to become an insured credit union. Any member as defined in Section 1422 of this title. Any savings association as defined in Section 3 of the Federal Code or Federal Depository Insurance Act, which is an insured depository institution, or is eligible to apply to become insured depository institution under the Federal Deposit Insurance Act. Okay, again, it's all insurance, right? Remember what I said about that deposit definition. That's where it tells us right here. Deposit means the unpaid balance of money or its equivalent, received or held by a bank or savings association in the usual course of business. If you open a bank account, that bank now has a way of receiving. That's what the deposit is. It's the unpaid balance of money. Money is the definitive paper form, and they're saying there's an unpaid balance, and so its equivalent is the credit in the electronic form. That's how the credits are transferred today. The bank receives the check. You sign it on the back. The bank runs it through its machine. The bank machine takes the money or credit, its equivalent. It doesn't take money out of the account. It takes its equivalent because it's electronic form. It takes the credit from the account and moves it to another account, and voila, it appears in the other account. And now the other person at that account can take that out in the form of money by having a transaction done by the banker to hand him definitive paper money. And notice it says the unpaid balance of money or its equivalent received or held by a bank or a savings association in the usual course of business and for which it has given or is obligated to give credit, either conditionally or unconditionally, to a commercial, checking, savings, time, or thrift account, or which is evidenced by its certificate of deposit. See, the bank has a certificate of deposit, a thrift certificate, an investment certificate, a certificate of indebtedness. Oh my, if the banks are the ones that own everything, how is it they have a certificate of indebtedness? Wait a minute, folks. It is not that banks own anything. They can't own anything, and therefore they must have a certificate of indebtedness to show where the ownership sits. Or other similar name. And I've been going over this without showing you people. My apologies. Or other similar name, or a check or draft drawn against the deposit account and certified by the Bank or Savings Association, or a letter of credit, when credit are issued in exchange for checks or drafts or for a promissory note upon which the person obtaining any such credit or instrument is primarily or secondarily liable. Remember the first owner or second owner? Okay, let's take a look at the next one. And I think that's it for that. So the next one we're going to look at is the 39 CFR 762.12. We're going to show you that address because this is the Postal Service, United States Postal Service debt obligations. So it's not just the United States that has a debt obligation. It's not just the banks that have a debt obligation through the certificate of indebtedness, but it's the Postal Service that holds a debt obligation along with the Federal Reserve's obligation. All these people have an obligation to full faith and credit. They have no ownership in anything, and therefore the only thing they can give is credit. The money that they pose is fiat currency and is only supposed to be used by government officials, federal, state, or municipal employees, officials or agents whose resident presence is deemed necessary by the board, and the board being the Secretary of Commerce as the executive chair and the Secretary of Treasury. So let's take a look at these. Disbursement postal money order means a money order described in Part 762 issued by the Postal Service to pay one of its own obligations. Remember, folks, if a security is backed anywhere, it has to be backed by a valued asset, and it's the Postal Service that has the Real Estate Investment Trust. It is the Postal Service under Congress, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, Needful Places and Buildings, that owns the security interests This is where all mortgages extend from. Federal Reserve Bank means a Federal Reserve Bank or branch thereof. Financial organization, which would be almost similar to a financial institution as we see, means any bank, savings and loan association or similar institution, or a federal or state chartered credit union, meaning that they are now chartered with the federal and therefore insured. All these others may or may not be insured. But once they're chartered with the federal, they are insured. Person or person means an individual or individuals. Remember that individual we were talking about. And that individual, according to 5 U.S.C. 552A, is the individual who maintaining records on individuals. That is the one that was born or enumerated at birth. And that is the legal fiction that was established at that time. That is the individual. The individual's name and number identify the record. Therefore, it wasn't you that was birthed. It was a record that was birthed. It was an establishment of an individual known by a name and a number. Or an organization or organizations, whether incorporated or not, including all forms of banking institutions. And when you conduct yourselves in a fashion where you start signing documents and checks and all of this, you are operating as a banker. You are fulfilling the similar actions as a banking institution, a financial institution. Presenting bank means a bank or other depositor of a Federal Reserve Bank which presents disbursement postal money orders to and receives credit, therefore, from the Federal Reserve Bank. So we see disbursement postal money orders are to receive credit, not money. Disbursement postal money orders to and receive credit. So what is the money? The money is the disbursement postal money order. It's the paper form. It's the money, and you exchange it for its equivalent, credit. Reclamation means the action taken by the Postal Service to obtain refund of the amounts of paid disbursement postal money orders. So, well, let's talk about that. Kara asks, what's a loan from a bank? Bankers have the option upon your signing instruments to either process a loan or swap an insurance installment agreement. Now, the banks under the FDIC are supposed to be insured. So if they're insured and you apply for a loan, what do? They pass So what do banks do in that situation? They pass on the insurance liability to you by swapping out the loan for an insurance installment agreement right under your eyes without you knowing it, because you don't read this stuff. Most often they don't either, because now it's become a general practice to do that, which is a pattern of practice in violation of Regulation Z, Truth in Lending. So there's that. And let's get back into it, because the next thing we're going to pull up is, well, of course, Postal Service means U.S. Postal Service. And again, folks, the Postal Service is the registered agent. And the Judicial Officer Department is an independent and neutral forum within the United States Postal Service, comprising of the Judicial Officer, the Administrative Law Judge, and the Postal Board of Contract Appeals. The next one we're going to look at is in relations to the enumeration at birth and the establishment of the account, and then, of course, when you turn 18 and you open that account. What's going on, folks, in my opinion, is that when you're born, there's a probated estate established, because neither mom nor you are ever going to know about it unless you do your research and know, because nobody else is going to tell you. In trusts and estates, the probate estate includes assets that are held in an individual's name. So when you sign up for that SS5, instead of recognizing the state is holding assets in your name, that asset being the statement of live birth that your mom signed as an informant to establish the account, which now has certain credits somewhere established as a benefit because it's an insurance account. And if the insurance has never been claimed, then there's no benefit been received. So technically, as soon as mom fills out that paper for you and takes you to a doctor, now you've received a benefit. So it's a matter of correcting the estate in an estate recovery. All of these probated estates are a matter of Health and Human Services. All states are required to have an estate recovery program through the Health and Human Services. Health and Human Services is who we deal with in estate recovery. They don't know it yet, and they don't realize that these probate estates, there's no decedent. The name is presumed to be a decedent because it's not in fact alive, but the one that the name derives from is in fact alive, and there is no death yet. So while they're administrating this estate in your name and you stand in that court alive and breathing, what do they think they're doing administrating the estate of somebody who's dead? If these people are really knowing, then they would know better and certainly wouldn't call you into court. That to me tells me that something is amiss, because if I'm a just generally educated guy with a 12th grade education, and I'm able to learn and read this stuff and comprehend it, and you can pose it in front of any jury, any judge, that if it says that the estate can't be probated until the testator dies and passes away, and things become payable upon death, then what are you doing trying to administrate my estate while I'm still alive? See, this is the fallacy, the fatality of their administrating authorities. Scott versus McNeil. A court of probate has no jurisdiction over the estate of a person who is in fact alive. 1894. It's well over 100 years old. It's in the public. It's in the Library of Congress as a valid case, and I don't know why people don't understand this. So let's get back into it. This probate estate. The disposition of the probate estate is determined by a probate court. Disposition. The disposition is the movement of property. It's the transfer of property. So the disposition of a probate estate is the establishment of a trust. Like I said, the transfer of property establishes a trust. Is determined by probate court. I beg to differ. The disposition of the probate estate is established at the hospital. If it's corrected before you enter it in the hospital, then there is no court. So where along the line does the court of probate get involved? SS5. That's where you disposition the estate. You're the one that transferred the estate to the court. Social Security is an administration of accounts. The administrative law judge works directly with the Social Security as it relates to the data elements and their statistical importance to historical value, and is usually divided as directed by the decedent's will, and is usually divided as directed by the decedent's will. So if they say Keith Little is the decedent, then all that needs to be stated is your will. They cannot violate the will of a living man. Again, a court of probate has no jurisdiction over the estate of a person who is in fact alive. None. That is where your yea is your yea, your nay is your nay. Probate estate assets also include assets that do not have title, household items, jewelry, etc., and other assets owed to the decedent prior to their death, including wrongful death lawsuit proceeds. These assets, of course, that would also include all of the things that you've paid into this monetary system in error, as what you put out is supposed to come back. Again, it's credit, it's currency. That's how the system is supposed to work. All you have to do is point out that you paid into the system as the benefactor to the beneficiary, and as the beneficiary has not received the benefit yet, there is something wrong. The decedent has not passed away. There is no prior death. The decedent is known in paperwork and is and here before you, standing before you, is the living example. In other words, you're violating the will that passes through me that says, I fear not, for I have been redeemed. He has called me by thy name. I am his. Who the fuck is you? These assets include non-probate assets, which the title has been transferred within decedent's lifetime, or in which transfer of title is controlled by a survivorship mechanism. You have to pass the property on to a survivor. Guess what? Mom named the survivor in the statement of live birth. It was just not clearly directed that that survivor would receive the estate so established. Okay, the next one. We're going to get into Investopedia. And real quick here, I'm going to take a quick break. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like, share, and subscribe real quick for me, I got to go grab a drink. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back. And thank you for waiting, folks. So as we see, we've got Investopedia up again. And it says, what is the Depository Trust Company, DTC, in banking? The Depository Trust Company is one of the world's largest securities depositories. So anytime that somebody deposits something into that financial institution, such as money, the unpaid balance of money or its equivalent, that institution is required to give credit if they haven't already given credit. Okay? That is where the credits are established and tallied. That is the statistical center for credits. Founded in 1973. What happened in 1971, folks? 1971 is where they removed the gold. Okay? Everything went to securities instruments. In that establishment, they created the Depository Trust Company as a registered agent, a co-trustee with the Postal Service. Okay? And is based in New York City. The DTC is organized as a limited purpose trust company and provides safekeeping through electronic record keeping of securities balances. So when we relate to this blockchain stuff today, the blockchain in securities was established in 1971, and then they established the Depository Trust Company for that electronic record system in 1973. And this is the beginning of the blockchaining. In 2006, they made the Electronic Records Act, requiring everything to be recorded electronically. And so we see a range of what 27 plus 6 is 33 years. 33 years establishing the Depository Trust Company and the Electronic Records Act. It also acts as a clearinghouse to process and settle trades in corporate and municipal securities. Now, as a resident of that municipality and acting as an agent or an official, every time you sign one of those documents, you are operating as a co-owner, initiating a securities transaction. How the Depository Trust Company works. The Depository Trust Company is registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, just like the Postal Service. The Postal Service has the Real Estate Investment Trust, and the Depository Trust Company has that what? Limited Purpose Trust. What is the limited purpose? To give credits. Is a member of the Federal Reserve System and was created to reduce costs and provide clearing and settlement efficiencies by immobilizing securities and making book entry changes to ownership of the securities. Like I said earlier, when you go to that court and you enter that name, they change the name through the linked account with a conversion account, their conversion account, saying that they can convert it because they are a Treasury Direct Securities operator or owner. They own an account. As a clerk of courts, they must. They are one of the agents. In order to conduct their court registry investment system, they have to be able to do those purchasing and buying and selling of those securities. That buying and redeeming. In that swap, they are not allowing you to redeem them. You have to be able to clarify the swap, how it happened, and what's going on in those trusts. That's why it's important to do your research. I'm going to tell you once again, do not believe me. Do not believe your neighbor. Do not believe the government. For crying out loud, do not believe your mother. Do your research so you know. If in doing your research you cannot comprehend it, continue doing research, but feel free to ask questions of myself and other people that might be able to help further explain it to you. I can explain it to you, but I cannot comprehend it for you. The largest broker-dealers and banks in the United States are DTC participants, and they deposit and hold securities at the DTC. So again, just like that court registry investment system at the local county courthouse, you have an account with a bank, and that bank too has a representative that has a securities account as a co-owner. And every time you work with that bank, you initiate a securities, including when you open an account. The original application is a security. Every check you process through that account is a security. Every money order you cash through that account is a security, which appear in the records and issuer of records of an issuer's stock as the sole registered owner of those securities deposited at the DTC. And as I said, if you are the one that's got those checks and you sign that check, or somebody else issues a check to you and you deposit that check for payment, they are the issuer, not the bank. The bank is not the issuer. You are. You're the issuing entity operating as a corporate entity, and they are a co-owner. The DTC provides financial institutions with a record of net settlement obligations at the end of each day from trading in equity, debt, and money market instruments. That's what they trade in, folks. They trade in equity, debt, and money market instruments. All of those instruments are money market instruments, creating debt, and you are the equitable title holder. Every last one of them is a document of title. But in signing them in the capacity that you do, blank endorsements, what you're doing is you're signing over your rights, titles, and interests to the property, to the other co-owner, and that is the problem. In 2021, the DTC held more than 1.3 million current securities issues valued at $87 trillion and issued in the U.S. and 131 countries and territories. In 1968, as the New York Stock Exchange became overwhelmed by the paperwork involved with trade volume, it installed the functions of DTS, or maintenance of daily share prices, through its central certificate service, a securities depository established to serve NYSE member firms. On that New York Stock Exchange, where the DTC is held in New York City, and they have those stocks in your name, but they are not listed in the last name. They are listed in a firm name, as I showed you on the court documents, the financial index. They converted the last name to a firm name. Again, more evidence showing that they are treating you as a firm, as if though you are brokering the deal yourself, and in so brokering, you forgot to do certain things and handed everything over to them. Now they get to use it for their benefit and to your detriment. DTC was created in early 1973 to acquire the business of CCS and to expand the benefits of the depository approach to other areas of the financial industry, particularly the bank sector. It's for their benefit. They're going to use it for their benefit. Okay? The Depository Trust and Clearing Company. This is the Depository Trust and Clearing Company. not the Depository Trust Company, but the Depository Trust and Clearing Company owns the Depository Trust and manages risk and financial system. That's the insurance. See, the DTC is the insurance. The DTCC is the clearing of that insurance. It's the clearing and settlement so the beneficiary receives the benefit. As I explained in the prepaid expenses video, you prepay the expense insurance on a monthly basis, yet there's never a claim on that automobile insurance or health insurance plan. What happens then? The beneficiary never receives a benefit. So like I said, when we go through and we correct these records and they find out that we've been paying things that we're not supposed to because we're not the paying agent. Okay, we're not the issuing agent nor the paying agent, in fact, and therefore there needs to be a correction. All of those things that we paid in that we never gained benefit from is the consideration to be had so that it returns. Formerly an independent entity, the DTC was consolidated with several other securities clearance companies in 1999 and became a subsidiary of the DTCC. Functions. One more time, functions of the DTC. The DTC holds trillions of dollars worth of securities in custody, so they are the custodian, including corporate stocks and bonds, municipal bonds, and money market instruments. Individuals do not interact with DTC, but securities brokers, dealers, institutional investors, depository institutions, issuing and paying agents, and settling banks do. You've been performing the functions of issuing and paying agents. You've been performing the functions of transfer agents, Federal Reserve transfer agents, every time you use those Federal Reserve notes. It's the same thing with their fiat documentation, their fiat currency. You've been acting in the functions, performing in public in an official capacity by signing those documents. Owned by many companies in the financial industry, when the NYSE being one of its largest shareholders, the DTC provides services including settling funds at the end of each trading day using continuous net settlement documentation through the National Net Settlement Service Corporation. Ensures safekeeping and employs record-keeping services. Provides direct registration, underwriting, which is the insurance, reorganization, which is the mergers, and proxy, which is the co-ownership, and dividend services. Announces dividend payments from an issuing company and allocates and reports dividend payments to the shareholders. Global tax services. One more time, folks. Those global tax services, like I said, the taxes are already prepaid. It is the the Global Postal Trust Services, and that trust is funded by the TIF, the taxes that are brought forth by the nation's leaders when they congress with the Universal Postal Union in the Postal Congress and post a percentage of the gross domestic product as a gift to the IMF, the Global Postal Trust Services funding for credits. As we continue on, alerts companies on market irregularities and may impose a chill, a limitation of services, or a freeze, a global lock, and complete restriction of DTC service on all the company's securities. So it's the company's securities and not yours. They are developed in your name. The account is in your name, but the securities are theirs and you are merely a co-owner. And if you don't know what you're doing and you sign those documents in blank, you sign those securities over to them and they will be entered into that depository trust company by the clerk of courts, by the clerk teller at the bank, whoever it is that's claiming that co-ownership, and they get the credits. This is what happens when you fill out those loan documents that Kara was talking about, and they take them to the federal discount window and get the credits. If you are not going to sign those documents without recourse by benefactor to receive the benefits, to ensure that you receive the benefits as holder of that instrument at the time you hold that instrument, to place the conditions on it so that you can enforce that instrument as holder of the instrument, then you're going to bypass your enforcement. That's how you enforce. You have to learn the terms and conditions to place on those instruments in order to enforce them as the primary benefactor, the principal. You are not signing over your rights, titles, and interests. You are holding them without recourse, without prejudice, by benefactor teeth. What is a DTC clearing number? A DTC number is a number that helps facilitate transactions between financial institutions. The DTC number is typically associated with the clearing firm that is used by your IRA custodian. To confirm your custodian's DTC number, please contact your current IRA custodian. What does DTC eligibility mean? A DTC eligible security is a security that is freely tradable pursuant to U.S. securities laws and is otherwise qualified to be held at DTC and serviced. So I don't care who they sell them to. It gets held by the DTC. That's what this says. The eligibility criteria are more fully described in DTC's operational arrangements. You can look that up. And again, folks, I'm not providing links to the stuff tonight, but you should be able to see by the video and follow up on them and see everything I've put out. DTC and its family of companies, including its subsidiary, DTCC and its family of companies, including its subsidiary DTC, serve as the post trade. Post, let's talk about that real quick. Because as we talk about post, we're talking about things that you post to an account, right? Well, we also talk about post as after the fact. So after the fact is post age of majority. And instead of creating your own private journal, now you're operating, like it says here, as a post trader. You're trading post-trade market infrastructure in the industry, providing automation, centralization, standardization, and streamlining of processes critical to the market's safety and security, not your safety and security. And it is, of course, by a standardization, which is their standing, okay? Saying you have no standing. Again, you're signing everything in blank and leaving it up to them to make the determinations. And it's not until you learn this stuff that you can make those determinations through your own discernment. How does DTCC and DTC monitor for money laundering? Okay. DTCC and its subsidiary DTC employ a KYC program to provide a risk-based approach for the collection of sufficient information and documentation to know its customers and the customers of its subsidiaries as required by U.S. and international AML regulations. What it means, KYC, your client. KYC is know your client. What it means, compliance requirements. So if you're going to know your client, then that's the requirement for the ID. That's the identification. Okay. But as a client buying and selling, all you're doing is buying and selling from another agent. You're implying yourself as an agent. You got to learn how to quit that. So, and again, you can go on and you can look up what AML regulations are. Copy, paste. Anti-money laundering regulations. So, AML stands for anti-money laundering. KYC means know your client. And it says, how will an investor know if DTC has issued a freeze? So again, as signing those documents, those instruments, I'm telling you, they're considering you, or the record is implying that you are some way, some shape or form an investor. And this is reasonable and logical to think that if you're going to have something to do with that system and you're going to be party with it, then you are making some sort of investment in it. Otherwise, you would learn and just leave it alone and tell them it ain't none of their business. So when securities are frozen, or let's start out. It says when DTC chills or freezes a security, it will issue a participant notice. This is a certification, a certificate of participation as well. It seems that's what I would take it. If they're going to give you a participant notice and they're going to qualify it as validated, then there must be a statement of some kind of affidavit or statement or something acknowledging it as true and correct in certified form. Whether that be by a certified agent in his oral report over a phone saying, hey, I want to open this account, or I want to establish this account, or I want to purchase the security from this account as a co-owner, whatever. I don't care. What it is they're giving you a participant notice. If you haven't received a participant notice, then they're not recognizing you as a participant. Yet somehow it seems like if they convert that last name to a firm name and enter you in that system, somehow you did participate. How is that? Do you not see how this is working, folks? Or are you just going to sit back and let it stand by not doing your research and wondering how you're being abused without looking into it? This is pathetic that we have full-grown people coming to other full-grown people like myself and asking for help because the people that are supposed to know this stuff aren't coming forth with it and are abusing them through all of this accounting. And remember, folks, it's a matter of what they post to an accounting of the events. The participants have to be identified appropriately. If they're not, then there's something definitely wrong. There's some kind of conversion or miscomprehension. As in this case, my case, or 94 of them, we see that it is definitely a conversion. Okay, so let's find out a little more. It says, these notices are publicly available on DTC's websites. When securities are frozen, DTC provides optional automated notifications giving participants the ability to update their systems to automatically block future trading of affected securities. I'm going to tell you here a recent incident. I don't know how it happened, but through my PayPal account. I opened an old U.S. bank account from 2011 to establish a donation button for PayPal on my Wyrd Wyzard Warrior site, so that people that didn't have PayPal could donate. Recently, I made some purchases online, and all of a sudden, yesterday, they sent me a notice saying that they closed that account. My PayPal account is fine. I can still use that, but they closed the bank account. And so now I have to figure out what I'm going to do with that PayPal button, as I don't know that it will accept PayPal donations except through a hold anymore. That means you can still donate through that button, but there's going to be like a 30-day hold. Okay. Now that 30-day hold, they gave me a participant notice telling me that they closed the account. So somewhere along the line, they're considering that I'm a participant in the bank as a financial institution, a co-owner, decided that they can't leave that account as it is because it was already closed, and they have no way of following it back to source anymore. So how PayPal opened it up and everything, or whether they changed the regulations here in the last couple of years or not, I don't know yet. I've got to do some more research on that to find out. But in the meantime, they effectively closed that bank account down that I reopened so I could have that PayPal button and get funds donated that I could receive immediately. So now there's just a temporary hold on funds that come in through that PayPal link for however many days, whether it be 30 days or what, I don't know yet. So yeah, it's Sir Greg, yeah, and that's exactly what it is. They're holding it so they can acquire some kind of interest in the transfer. As long as they can show that they were holding the instrument, they have an interest to enforce as a holder of the instrument. So they hold it for 30 days so they can acquire 30 days of interest instead of 1 day of interest for an electronic transfer, which is technically what it's supposed to be. This is a pure violation of the law. And until I can explain it to them and have them correct it, they're going to keep doing that. That's how hard this system is. So again, I urge people to start doing your research. I'm not the only one doing it, but it seems like there are very few of us. And as you see again tonight, there's nobody up on panel to try to help me discern this stuff. I need more researchers. Fucking wake up, people. So in addition to alerting participants, compliance departments, the bottom line, the Depository Trust Company is a limited purpose trust company and a subsidiary of DTCC. It provides safekeeping through electronic record keeping of securities balances and acts as a clearinghouse to process and settle trades, again, in corporate and municipal securities. As long as you keep claiming that you are a resident, they will keep pushing this electronic record as co-owners and taking the credits. Those are your credits, not theirs. Now, the next thing I want to look at is an interesting document. I wish I could share the whole thing with you, but it came through a private share as a download, so it's until I can find it on the internet, which I might. Let's see if we can't do that. Let's see if we can't just do that right here. Nope, it's not going to do that. So I got to put in letter of representations. Let's see if we can find it here. Letter of representation, DTC, PDF. Ah, there we go. I believe it's the same thing. Let me double check. Let me double check here. Yes, there we go. So thank you, Joshua Junio. I don't know if he's here. But Joshua Junio sent me this, and what we're looking at, let me pull it up. Oops, I lost my screen share somewhere. Let me pull it up again. Okay, so what we have here is a letter of representation, and it's from the Depository Trust Company, a subsidiary of the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. Book entry only. Corporate commercial paper. Master note program. So when you're born through the enumeration at birth, a master note is created and deposited in the Depository Trust Corporate Company for credits. This is where the credits are held. Every account that you open up without qualifying it ends up being a conversion account. When you do that driver's license, that's a conversion account, and they converted the name from Keith Little to Little, Keith. They converted the Social Security number that you gave them to attain that identification, even though the Social Security number is not for identification purposes. And they gave you a driver's license number. Now the DMV and DOT are co-owners of your signature. That's effectively what that document does. That's effectively what those documents do when you sign them without qualifying that signature, without recourse, without prejudice, by benefactor Keith. The given name only. Or just a mark. Or you can use that as your mark without recourse, without prejudice, by benefactor. You don't need a name. All you need is a qualifying statement. And again, folks, in trust operations, the true effect of a trust is to protect the beneficiary. Protection of the property so the beneficiary may receive it. And if you divulge the beneficiary while holding the property, somebody can replace the beneficiary and accept the property on behalf of the beneficiary. All done with paperwork, folks. So let's take a look again. As we scroll down, it says, attention, underwriting department. What is an underwriting? That's an insurance. Okay? Underwriting is an insurance. Underwriting department. Underwriting department. The mentality of not being a part of. Yet you are implying through your actions that you are performing the functions of public office by signing their official commercial paperwork. That's a corporate capacity. And then you give them references. Ladies and gentlemen, this letter sets forth our understanding with respect to certain matters relating to issuance by issuer from time to time of notes under its commercial program. It doesn't talk about drafts, bills of exchange, or anything else. And if you remember correctly earlier when we were talking about securities, it was talking about it did not include notes, drafts, bills of exchange, and such. And yet here it is. It says this letter sets forth our understanding with respect to certain matters relating to issuance by issuer from time to time of notes. It's the only thing they can issue, folks. They cannot issue bills of exchange in actuality or in truth. Even though they do, it's done under the premise of a note, a promise. Again, it's the unpaid balance of money or its equivalent. The equivalent of an unpaid balance of money is still Again, promise to pay. Same thing as credit. I promise to pay in the future. I'll gladly give you I'll gladly pay you for 2 burgers on Tuesday for a hamburger today. Interest under its commercial paper program. Every last one of those pieces of paper is commercial. It has some kind of value system backing it, and they require your signature. That's what puts the value into it for them. If you don't qualify it properly, it will not have the value that you think it does for you. It will be used against you. Again, look at your prescriptions from the hospital. They too are entering you in as a firm name. On the top left-hand corner of that document, it will have, let me grab one just to make sure. Yes, on the top left-hand corner. Okay, I pulled one down, and on the top left-hand corner, it says, in yellow highlight with black lettering, it says LITT. It does not have the firm name. Oops, let me get rid of my background. LITT. Okay? That's telling you they're using a firm name rather than your last name. Greetings, Danielle. How you doing tonight?
Shalom, shalom. I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Slow but sure, slow but sure. We've been at it at an hour and a half already, talking about this depository trust company and where them credits sit.
Yeah, I've been busy after work wheeling with my second job.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know if you were there on the podcast or not on Paul's show, but he kind of blurted out my other job.
Oh yeah? I didn't realize that. No, I didn't. So we'll keep it hush hush. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. Working hard on yeah, that's the second hand job, isn't it? Yeah, we don't want that to be a first hand job. So
Yeah.
So you guys weren't able to see that letter?
Not until you took around your background.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it shows that we're seeing it here. So let's finish up with this real quick because this is the last thing I've actually got here. I wanted to go down. Let me find it. Oh, right there. To be completed by issuer, issuing agent, and paying agent. Now, if you didn't fill one of these out, then how are you a paying agent? And there's 30 times it's mentioned. This is very important. You have to be an issuer, an issuing agent, or a paying agent. And what the presumption is that you're an issuer. You're not an issuing agent. You're an issuer who accepted an offer of commercial paper from an official, signed it, and in that signing, without qualifying it, handed over rights, titles, and interest to it. And so therefore they claimed the swap, that you are the issuer and that they get the benefit, when in fact they issued it to you. They're the ones that gave you the document to sign. And again, folks, this is just my opinion. This is the way I see how things have happened. So it's not legal advice. It's just my opinion. And if you know of something else that says I'm wrong, I need you to step up and tell me. This is why research is important, so that when we go out here and we do this stuff, we have a good comprehension and good clarification. And it says, this letter sets forth our understanding with respect to certain matters relating to issuance by issuer from time to time of notes under its commercial paper program. So here it's saying the issuer from time to time of notes under its commercial paper program. So whoever has a commercial paper program is the issuer, and they need an issuing agent and a paying agent. Issuing agent shall act as issuing agent with respect to the securities. Paying agent shall act as paying agent or other such agent of issuer with respect to the securities. So if you're not an agent of the commercial paper issuer, then you are not a paying agent of others or other such agent of the issuer. So the court registry investment system is the one that's issuing the investment through their commercial paper, their warrants and court orders and petitions and all this. They're the issuing agent, and the paying agent shall act as a paying agent or other such agent of the issuer. So they're claiming they're the issuer and you're a paying agent of them. Does that make any sense to you?
It makes perfect sense if I want to make a lot of money and steal from everybody.
Exactly. And you get to do it through that nice license and ID. Yeah. See, that's a corporate ID. Don't you see? Look on that ID. That's the last name, comma, first name. Or excuse me, yeah, last name, comma, first name. And it's in all uppercase.
That's also my understanding why it's always stressed, but yet I say 99.99999% of people don't do it, and that's read the fine print.
Yeah. I was saying one night, I don't know if you remember if you were on the stream or not, but I've got a buddy of mine that took a purchase agreement from a local dealership, took it home, scanned it into his computer, brought up the fine print, re-edited it, and then reprinted it, signed it, scanned it back. They accepted without realizing, without reading the fine print that they tell everybody else to read, knowing that contract is amendable. What's that? What is it? Endorsement. I read the other night. The definition of an endorsement is an amendment to an insurance policy. So what he did was made an amendment to an insurance policy, and at that time he didn't recognize it as an insurance policy. I just changed the purchase order. But again, in fact, just like the banks do, when they process that loan, or when you sign that promissory note and those loan documents without qualifying it, they get the option of processing it as a loan or swapping it for an insurance installment agreement. So like I said, the banks are required to carry insurance for their securities and stuff. And yet what they do is they take that security, and if you don't qualify it properly, you gave up the rights, titles, and interest to it. The interest to that is the claim of benefit. So they get to use it as the benefit, and that benefit is the option. Remember what I said earlier? There's a put, a call, an option, and the banks get to use an option. That option is a swap. It's a security swap. We could have read that definition too. Let me go back and look at it. That was 10.
And speaking of insurance and all that stuff, I'm in the process. Well, I don't know where I'm at because this is my first time doing anything like this. But as you know, I'm setting the record straight here soon. And so if I'm doing that, that means I need to go all the way. That means the license plate, insurance, registration, and all that stuff. I'm turning all that in. I got a letter. I already canceled the insurance, and I got a letter in the mail from the DMV stating that they got a notice from my insurance company that I'm no longer insured and that I need to get insurance.
Can they prove the requirement for insurance? Can they prove that you received a benefit from the last insurance? If you haven't received the benefit, then what's the benefit?
So the benefit could be classified as the benefits you are receiving for being insured.
But there was no claim on it, was there? They're just saying you didn't pay?
The last. So here's another thing that I don't understand. The letter, I also got a letter from the insurance company that clearly states that it's monthly advances. Or so you're paying for your next month. So if I paid in November, that means October is covered, right? So if October,
you pay in October, and when you pay, the next month is covered.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
so if you pay in October, November is covered, or the next 30 days. So if you pay in the 15th of October, you're covered from the 15th of October until the 15th of November.
Yeah, so from the last time I paid was September, which means in October was covered. So the letter is stating that I still owe them 1 month. How can I owe them 1 month if I paid for the coverage in advance and it was terminated at the end of that month? Because I have a letter that clearly states at the end of October, your insurance coverage will be over.
Well, if you go back and watch my prepaid expense video, it talks about it in there. And the very, very simple question is that if I paid you all these months, the way that the law, that it reads, again, go back and watch that video, prepaid expense, and it tells us that when you pay for insurance, at the end of the insurance, you're supposed to receive a benefit. What's the benefit? If nobody makes a claim on the insurance and you paid into the insurance and you got 1 month of insurance and no claim was made on it, it's now time to receive your benefit. What's the benefit? Nothing. Well, then we need to roll that payment over to the next month, because I'm not supposed to be paying insurance and then not receiving the benefit. So technically, the way I read it, and this is why I need people to come up and discuss this, is that the way that's written, it tells us that you pay the insurance and you're supposed to receive a benefit. Now, the way the insurance companies say it is that, well, you receive the benefit if you make a claim. If you get in an accident, that's your benefit. We pay for you. No, you're asking me to pay multiple times, month after month, when the insurance only carries me for 1 month. So if I don't receive the benefit at the end of the 1 month, and I'm not able to, and there's no claim, then the payment should roll over because I didn't receive a benefit. So effectively, for me to make a payment for insurance, prepaid insurance for 1 month, at the end of the month, there's no claim. So the benefit then, instead of being able to be compensated for a claim if I got in an accident, now the benefit is to roll the payment over for the next month because I never received the benefit the first month. There was no accident, so there was no benefit.
That makes sense.
I urge everybody to go back and watch that video. It's a very in-depth little video I did on prepaid expenses, including prepaid taxes and prepaid insurance. And that's why I keep mentioning insurance everywhere. It's all about the insurance. Insurance has to be prepaid. And then once the term of the insurance is over, you're supposed to receive a benefit. Equal consideration, equal benefit. So equal consideration, equal benefit. If you make a payment for 1 month and don't get to make a valid claim on it, then you turn around and make that rollover, the payment rollover. Okay, then the payment continues on for this month. Since I already paid it, if it doesn't make sense for you to give it back to me, so the true benefit is just to roll the insurance policy over another month. If I don't make a claim on it that month and don't receive a benefit, then the future expectation is to roll it over again.
Drop a link to that video for the viewers. While you do that, I'll be right back. I need my splitter.
That's a good idea. Thank you for telling me that. That's one of those things that we really need to start getting into, folks, is realizing the terms and terminology of all this stuff so that you can figure it out. Let's see here. Prepaid expense. Insurance and lease schemes. Insurance and lease schemes. Prepaid expense, insurance and lease scheme. And this, the prepaid expense is also your taxes. Those are your two main prepaid expenses are taxes and insurance. And then just like your insurance and taxes, your leases are prepaid as well. And it runs the same way. Your equal consideration and equal benefit in a lease is that you're taking upon maintenance. So if they want you to pay monthly rent, then you charge them the same as the monthly rent for your maintenance schedule. If you want me to mow the lawn and take care of the plumbing and all the fixtures and everything and pay all the bills and everything as a secondary obligor, then you're going to have to pay me the same as rent. So if you want me to pay $150 water bill that's actually in your name and you want me to be the second billing party, then part of my maintenance in that billing is to take care of that bill. So I got to charge you for that bill because I'm going to put it right back on you. You're the one that owes it. If you want me to maintain those accounts, I'll be glad to do that. But you're the payee, not me. Our equal consideration is actually a private contract, and you're trying to push on your public liabilities onto me. Sorry, you're not going to do it. That's another one of those issues my companion and I are having right now. You know, we'd like to get out of this place, but we can't find anybody that's willing to sit down and be honorable about this stuff and discuss things like full-grown adults, so we can help explain that we already know you're the first billing party. It's your obligation. And just because you want to make it my obligation doesn't mean you make it my obligation and I have no choice about it. That's violation of contract. If I have equal consideration, then I have equal consideration to put my interest in there, which is the maintenance. And if you want me to take care of your billing stuff, then effectively, like we just saw, I'm a paying agent for you, the issuer. So I get paid as a paying agent. Pay me. We really got to think about this stuff. So let me go back here. I found in that other one where we discussed the securities, number 8 is the term issuer. So on number 8, the issuer means any person who issues or proposes to issue any security, except that with respect to certificates of deposit for securities, voting trust securities, or collateral trust certificates, or with respect to certificates of interest or shares in an unincorporated investment trust, not having a board of directors or of the fixed restricted management or unit type. The term issuer means the person or persons performing the acts and assuming the duties of depositor or manager pursuant to the provisions of the trust or other agreement or instrument under which such securities are issued. So again, not having a board of directors. You can't be an issuer. So if you don't have a board of directors, you cannot be the person performing the acts of assuming the duties of depositor or manager, which is the presumption. It's the presumption that you are the issuer, and you have to let them know. Like I've mentioned a couple times, under federal rules under Texas rules of civil procedure and equality of the law among the states, you cannot hire an attorney to represent yourself in those courts. You can only do that through a board of directors, and if you are not incorporated and have a board of directors, then you can't hire an attorney according to the letter of the law.
You never, ever, under any circumstance, want to hire a lawyer or an attorney.
No, the only time you want to hire one is a lawyer, which is a private lawyer, and that's only because he has the ability to file in their courts. And again, that's only if you have a board of directors can you do that, and that's only because you would be organized under the laws of the United States under 12 U.S.C. 614, a contract with the Federal Reserve, in equal position with the DTC, the Federal Reserve, the United States, and the Postal Service, showing that you owe an equal consideration and equal benefit to all obligations and responsibilities as an agent.
Have you ever heard of, I'm going to probably butcher it, Astronomos Davini?
Spell it.
ASTRUMLURISDIVINI CANONUM. So, according to Vatican, this is Vatican law. In Canon 2798, Atoius Mloris Davini Canium, a lawyer is defined. This is etymology. This is my research of etymology. The word lawyer is from the late 16th century, combining the Latin words lar and lares, which means customary law, plus iri or iro, which means to swear or to take an oath or to conspire, meaning literally one who is sworn an oath to customary law of a private guild. Hence, the true and original meaning of a lawyer is one who is authorized and licensed by a private guild of the bar to practice law. Therefore, no lawyer can be counsel without deliberately injuring the law, preventing the course of justice.
Absolutely, and that one important term in there I discussed last night, Authors Guild. Guild literally means, folks, to pay or redeem. So Authors Guild is an authority to pay. And how do we pay? By coining our words or pursing our lips.
Mm-hmm.
We pay with our words. A man is bound by his words. That's what you paying with. The better you learn how to use those words, the better your payments are going to go. The better you're going to learn how to pay so that the credit is extended.
You know what a barrister is?
One who commits barratry.
No. No. So, are you ready for this definition?
Barrister. Go ahead.
The word barrister is from the late 16th century, combining the Latin word baro, meaning dunce or incompetent, and stow or stare, to stand firm, to be in position, meaning literally to stand or represent a dunce or one who is incompetent. Hence, the meaning is a student of law of a private guild that has been called to the bar. Therefore, no barrister can be counsel without deliberately injuring the law and preventing the course of justice.
Yep. Again, they're saying you're incompetent, and it's true. I admit I am incompetent. I can't hire an attorney. I've not qualified myself under the laws of the United States to be organized enough to handle my own financial affairs. So I've got to stay out of the financial shit and just deal with credit. Hallelujah. I don't know what you mean by signing them documents. I can't read the terminology you imply and infer, and as soon as I do, you say no, it means something else, and then when we look it up, it means something else. Come on, let's get down to the root of all this stuff first before we sign documents.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, we're sending our kids to a public education system, people, that teach them to write the legal name and not teaching them concise English. The concise English version of your name, in my instance, would be Keith, all in lowercase. English originally started in lowercase. So as Old English, or even in modern English, you could still use the capital K. But then there would be a hyphen, and then there would be another ORLAND. Whether it be capitalized or not makes no real difference. Like I said, it's Old English or New English. But the point here is concise English says KEITH hyphen ORLAND, :stop for the given name. And remember, folks, the given name is your given name in one capacity as private, Keith. People in the private would know you as Keith, and your mom and dad would also give you a second given name for people to call you in public. That way they could protect you in private. That's the basics of a ecclesiastical trust, is that knowing that my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So rather than putting our child out there in the public and knowing him for who he really is, we're going to give him a pseudonym, a second given name, wherein the public shall know him, and anything in private is already superseded by the first given name. Therefore, anybody in the public that uses that second given name, it shows a difference, and a difference of derivative. It would mean that somebody in the public made the issue and not us in the private. So then you would follow the first two given names, Keith hyphen Orland with a : stop, and then your last name. And of course, it would be capitalized, : stop. They don't teach you that in these schools. They teach you to write upper and lowercase, first and last name. And then when you look at your kid's report card, folks, look at the report card. It says little, Keith. That's military style. That's a military school. That's a military hospital. All these needful places and buildings are for military script, which is known as fiat paper, which is the commercial paper we're talking about. In order for them to maintain an accounting of the events in those needful places and buildings, they have to have their paperwork to do so. But then they turn around and get you to sign it as a witness. And you don't claim a witness. You end up being implied as an agent. Go ahead, brother.
You should give an example. Instead of saying it, you should give an example to the audience of what you're talking about. Because a lot of people might not know what a semicolon, comma, and all that stuff is.
Oh, for concise English. Okay.
Yeah. For the ones that are learning.
Yeah. I'll do that real quick. And of course, this would just be in the chat for the live stream, but you could do it either way. Like I said, upper and lowercase, or just all lowercase. But here it would be, because see, little is all capitalized because it's a title of the family. So as a family name, it's a title. Okay, it's not truly your name. It's a title of the family that you hail from, and you're given name under that title, and that's your first entitlement, your legacy. Your father gave you the seed. That's the legacy, the story. That's where the story begins, is the planting of the seed in the womb. Your mother is the womb. She took care of that embodiment for 9 months. She was a trustee, co-trustee. Father was a trustee to implant it properly in the proper place. Not in the mouth or the ass, in the right place. He was entrusted to do that. His proper entrustment, his proper duty is fulfilled for that part. Now, mom's part is the 9 months of bearing that child in formation. And when that child is born, now it's supposed to go back to, and of course, father is there all along, supposedly protecting the mama. And then when the child is born, he's supposed to step up and proudly herald his legacy that is now the inheritor of the just soli and just sanguis that he and his co-creator put together. And that is the right of the land, which is the nutrients, the body that he's made of, and the right of the blood that flows through his veins that carries the oxygen that makes him a living soul. And this is important to realize. None of this really has to do with any kind of name. This is the natural aspect of life. And this is where the true trust is supposed to be held. So even when it comes to the grammar and stuff, just uttering a name, why is it inherent that we know each other by a name? Why is it that we think everybody else in the community should be able to call something that belongs to us?
When you say why we got to call everyone by their names and all that, the first thing that pops into my mind, I grew up predominantly in the ghettos, and they don't really call everyone by their names.
Yeah, that's what I mean. When you're a kid and you're in the Women Haters Club, the people of the Women Haters Club give each other their own name.
Unfortunately, Keith had another glitch in the Matrix. Oh, he's back.
So people in the He-Man Women Haters Club, give each other their own nicknames. Spanky and Opus and or who was it? Buckwheat. That's not really a name. That's a nickname. Mm-hmm. And they're, Sparkplug. So we get away from the actual common names in groups and associations. Even in your secret societies, they don't go around calling them by their real name. They give each other a name, and that's intersocial. So again, when it comes to the given name, first and second given names, those are intersocial, with one being an expectation to be used in public, the other one being maintained private, while at the same time letting everybody know the family. So anyway, we're coming up, we're at 2 hours now. So I think I've put out a good bit of information here, and I appreciate you showing up, Danielle. I hope you check out that prepaid expense video, because I think that'll help clarify things a little bit as far as the insurance issue. So hopefully you'll be able to bring something new to the table for them that they're not used to hearing, but as it is written, so shall it be. And that's the way it's written. And again, if you guys find anything wrong with the material that I interpreted or the way I interpreted, please let me know. But I think I did a pretty good job on reviewing that information again and correlating it, that if you receive or if you pay insurance, prepaid insurance, insurance is always prepaid. And it's like it says in that prepaid video, you would never have an insurance claim and then go pay the insurance so you could make the claim. You always prepay. And in that prepayment, for that pay period, at the end of that period, you're supposed to receive a benefit. If you don't receive a benefit, then I suggest learning how to contract those insurance things as a rollover. And remember, folks, if you can go out and get a surety bond that will cover you for 5 years for $350, why are you paying $350 a month?
Do you have a video that goes over information on what that is and how to acquire one?
That's what I'm going to be working on next. I've got silver myself. So that's one of my projects, is to create a silver surety bond so that I could show that as a equal instrument. It's equal consideration, equal benefit. So that way I can get a surety bond off that value. And all it is it's a multiplication of my surety bond, saying that I have property that is available for a claim if somebody comes after me for an accident or something. That's one of those things that helps prevent these corporations from being able to come at you, because they can't put a lien on that property. They don't have any actual real assets. They're technically not supposed to be able to put a lien on anything. If you have no real assets as a corporation, and again, if the state's claiming property as assets, and they have to show that asset outside of the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Needful place in building. If it's a needful place in building, then that interest of ownership is in the United States and the Congress, not in the local community. So how does a local community, as a foreign trade zone corporate entity, actually own property that's only a needful place in building that is technically regulated by Congress? It can't. Its only interest is in its use. Oops. See, the interest of the actual building lies in Congress. The interest in the road actually lies in the Postal Service. The roads that lead to all of those buildings and all of the bonds that are issued, either corporate or municipal. And you're using a legal name and an address to do it all under a presumption.
That made me think of something else. If you got the time.
Anytime.
All right, so all this nonsense about an address and whatnot. I have 5 acres of land. I don't have an address.
You need to check with the post office about its natural area code.
Natural area code.
Yep, NAC, natural area code. Let's look at it. I don't know what's happening here. CAD code. Let's see if we can find the right one. Free Google geography. Geographic Information Systems Stack Exchange. I'm not finding it. I had one, but it's not opening up. So let's see if this one. CAD Core Natural Area Coding System is a geodetic system that generates highly efficient code called natural area code to unify the representations of geographic coordinates, area codes, street addresses, postal codes, map grids, and property identifiers of every location or area in the world. NAC Namer. Number representing level in the range 1 to 3 inclusive, and then properties non-typical name. See, it's not going to have your street address. It's going to be it's going to have a code. Let's see what this says. Huh. See if we can do it this way. Am I still with everybody? Make sure I'm not getting cut out here.
Yeah, you're still here.
Okay. Yeah, see, it's saying that site's not there. I'll have to do some further research. Again, we find another thing. Interesting question. And like I said, I gave you an answer right away because I've done this research before. And my research is showing that those windows aren't opening. So I'm going to have to go back and do some more research on that. And just look it up, natural area code. There's a bunch of stuff under there in your search engine. Just put natural area code and help with this research. Because like I said, I've done it before. And now I'm having to do it again. Another one, up to date. I believe her name is Jennifer. She's on my site, the wordwisewarriors.art. On the first page, on the contacts page. If you go down to the contacts, you'll see a gal that does land patents. Check with her. She'll be able to help you with some awesome information on all that stuff.
Okay. From what I just found real quick for the audience, it says I'm just going to read what it says. First, there is an issue of assigning it where, as in what software or date you are working with, as the building layer has no NAC attribute. I don't know. It's not making any sense to me. But it's talking about unique natural area code.
Right. So there's a link to my site down in the chat section there. Should take you to the contact page. That's the string there. So on that contacts page, I think you go down halfway or so. Yeah, about halfway, and you're going to find a list of links there, and one of them is Jennifer Ruby.
Yeah, the first time it said cannot be reached. Land grant.
Right, landgrantpatent.org. Just all three words strung together, no uppercase, all lowercase. Land grant patent.org.
I got pulled up. Yeah, I'm going to also watch the video too.
All right. Let me grab that.
There you go.
I'm here.
Oh.
Okay, I dropped that link down in the chat section too for folks. So go over and check out Jennifer Ruby. Great information on land grant patents. And
what is a land grant patent?
That's where you're going back and fixing the title. You're going back to the original land grants. Who granted it and why? And if there's no land grant, then somebody is what? Claiming ownership of property that they can't own. The land shall not be sold forever, for it is mine, and ye are strangers and sojourners with me. And in order for this commercial system to use any land through HUD and urban development, they have to condemn the land for its in order of its natural use, so they could then use it for commercial purposes. That itself is the violation of the law of the scripture. Who the hell are you to condemn the land?
That's an interesting point.
And you condemn his land? If you can't buy it or sell it, can you condemn it? Who has the power to condemn that which God created? That's why we're not supposed to pass judgment on each other. We are creations of God. Who the fuck are you to condemn me? Same principle. We're not supposed to be condemning each other. I am convicted of the Word of God. That is my conviction. You can't convict me through condemnation. What you're trying to do is pass judgment of a person and his title or its title upon me. I don't accept your entitlement. And that's what we've been doing all of our life. We've been accepting an entitlement through the enumeration at birth. That's all supposed to be private, folks. So anyway.
I think he kicked himself out of the broadcast.
Oops. Well, anyway, you got anything else?
No, not tonight. Not tonight. I know you are tired and got some stuff to do.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Okay.
I'm trying.
Okay, I got it's a scriptural verse. I've asked a few preachers from different denominational churches this question. It's 1 Corinthians 15:45, around there. The first Adam was made a living soul or spirit, and the second Adam was made a quickening spirit. Do you know that verse?
No, I don't. Let me look it up. Okay. First Corinthians 15:45 through 47. It says, "And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The last Adam was made a quickening spirit. Howbeit that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterward that which is spiritual. The first man is of the earth, earthly. The second man is the Lord from heaven."
Okay, so the etymology of read the first two lines again, where he's a living soul and a quickening spirit.
"And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The last Adam was made a quickening spirit."
Okay, so the etymology of living soul and quickening spirit. The living soul is Rashadek. The only time in scripture where I can find where God breathed in his own spirit was when he made Adam in Genesis 2. The etymology of a quickening soul means revitalization, meaning brought back to life. Where in scripture has anyone other than Jesus been brought back to life? But yet here
Right,
it says Adam.
Right, and that's what we're talking about, is at the atomic level, the atom. We don't die, folks. We pass on by changing form. They call it decaying. It's merely a passing on of the form of energy as we expelled our life force. Now the life force still remains, but it's going to pass on into different forms.
That different form, the first thing that I can think of is the new body that we're supposed to get. At least that's what scripture says.
Well, the way I see things, if there truly is an ascension, as there is the descension, and if we truly descended from him, V1, then our ascension is back into V1. So it's not a matter of our own identification as we see here, but as joining back with that whole as the original form, the spirit. If he's the one that breathed the breath of life into us, that made us a living soul, it is the breath of life that is the spiritual essence, and is the living soul with that spiritual essence that is the man. The man was able to be a man before he had that breath of life because he was receiving oxygen from his mommy through the blood.
Interesting outlook. If you're still there, I don't know. You froze again.
Yeah, so it was the passing of the man from the mother's water, discharging as a man from his mother's waters, and he took that first breath of life. So the first Adam was the man. Then when he took his first breath of life, he got that spiritual essence as the living soul. So Adam, as a living soul, then caught the breath of life. It's an immediate circulation into the same thing. I'm a living soul, I'm a man. I'm a living soul, I'm a man. I'm all at the same time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
They have to exist together. In the manual form, I'm the man. The physical form, I'm the man. In the breath, I'm the spirit, because without the spirit, the man can't really do nothing except hold his breath. And if he does that too long, he's done for. So he's got to accept the spirit. Has to.
That's an interesting outlook.
My sister, when she was young, she held her breath so long she passed out. I don't know why you would do that. Why would you want to do such things to try to experience what death might be like?
You want an answer for that?
If you got one, I'm willing to listen. I'm probably not going to accept it too well, but that's just me.
Part of my old life, I used to be into BDSM, and part of that aspect is some females like choking, and being that suffocation is actually arousing, and some say enhances the orgasm.
I don't know how.
It's a sexual thing.
Yeah, and I have no idea how. I can't see it. To me, that would be a detrimental thing. And if somebody's sitting there choking me, I'd be thinking I'm going to lose my life. And to me, in the psychological sense, that seems like they're doing that simply because that's what makes them feel like their life is worthwhile, because it was so bad that somebody's willing to choke them out. Now they appreciate life because they can breathe. And if you really want to do that, folks, then why don't you go out there and really be something? That's how you show you appreciate your life. You don't show appreciation of your life by letting somebody drag you through the mud and treat you terribly and beat the shit out of you and say, but I love you, because that's all you're looking for, is somebody to love you. It doesn't make sense. That's why I've been screaming, you ain't my daddy, all my life. You ain't my daddy, you ain't my daddy. I can tell that you do not care about me. I can tell there's something superimposed somewhere, that your intent is not directed at me. I went through foster homes, and it's amazing how that system works. It's all about money, folks. And a lot of those, and I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of those foster homes were about the money. And one of them, I showed up, and of course my baggage, suitcase, if that's what you want to call it, was a brown paper sack with a change of clothes and my hygiene items. From place to place, that's generally what I got to take with me, was a change or two of clothes and hygiene items. And I'll be damned, any kind of holiday or anything. One Christmas, I got a nice bike. Oh, lovely. Everybody likes a nice bike. But when I moved to the next foster home, oh no, that bike didn't come with me. See, that's foster care property. So I learned at a very young age the thing about gifts don't mean a motherfucking thing. Okay? I'm not a materialistic guy. I don't need a new mic except for you people. I can live without a bike. I don't want to, so I'm hoping I can raise the funds to get another bike since somebody stole mine for the second year in a row. living in a shitty neighborhood that has no place to lock it up, so I got to put bar locks through the wheels and hope somebody doesn't just come along and carry it off. Meanwhile, I got a nice 90, 100-pound dog in here that should alert me but doesn't. I do everything I can to do the best I can. But that doesn't mean I have the same access as to all the things that everybody else has. So many people don't put themselves in my shoes or others' shoes. Everybody seems to have this perspective on life with their own subjective view and believe that objectively applies to everybody else. And that is so far from true.
You froze again, Keith.
And that is so far from truth that it's pathetic. And with that, we're going to head and scoot out. It's been 2.5 hours. Catch me again next time. I'm going to try to do something once a night. But like I said, folks, there's over 800 videos out there already. I don't know how much more I can do on the information. So be prepared as I try to develop my other channels. Like I said, in the Authors Guild, if I can take a little moment to expand upon that real quick before we leave. In the Authors Guild video, I explained why I have 18 channels, and that's because I plan on developing different topical things that I can do as my part of my journaling, and so each one is going to be a different topic. El Perro will be generally about the church and scriptures and things like that. Eventually I'll get this channel all sorted out and all the material moved to my other channels according to the topics. But then Keith Little will be about the laws as they have them written, the letter of the law, courts of law and stuff, and how they correlate with scripture. And then Heckle-Bus is of course going to be for people that want to challenge things that are just blatantly obviously true, and I get to have them come up on panel. And it's probably not going to be too successful, but it's there. And then I've got Paul Jr., which is to work on the psychology stuff that Paul's already doing on his channel. And Paul Jr. will just be used to reflect my own experience through psychology and the research I've done. And I've already got a nice little thing going on there with Philip Zimbardo and the Stanford Prison Project, the Heroic Imagination Project, which is what he's working with today. So I expect that to be pretty successful. And then, of course, there's Charlie Chapchin as chaplain, and that'll be my clip collection stuff. And then, of course, I've got to have some profiles that aren't going to actually be known or very active. They're just going to be for what most people call trolling, but are actually for private investigative purposes to check out material to develop for the other channels. And it's not so I can go around accusing people, but so I can go to various different chats and make certain comments. I'm not going to be derogatory. Like I said, it's for investigative purposes. So I'm going to be posting questions and things that are very pertinent that I believe have to do with their topics, no matter what channel it is. And it's just going to be my way of being able to search channels out and pull information that I can then do reviews and stuff on throughout my various channels. And it's like having your own Authors Guild. Again, coining your words or pursing your lips. You're paying by putting something out there that others can then consider and appreciate and maybe throw you a little love. So remember the PayPal links down below if you want to share some love. I'm putting a lot of work into this to make sure that what I have to say is said, and I'm saying it as succinctly and keeping it distinctly separate according to topics and stuff so that other people can understand it. Again, 800 videos on my one channel, and people do have a hard time understanding it because it's so flip-floppy. It goes all over the place. I know this. So 18 channels is a way for me to help organize it. It's showing my plenary powers to be able to manage my own accounting system. See, people think you can only have one account. You know how many actors and singers and stars and stuff that have multiple passports and different names?
Mm-hmm.
Think about this shit, people. Get real. Learn how to develop yourself and learn your character traits and separate them out so you can create different writings just like any other author would. See, Samuel Clemens, as Mark Twain, wrote a book about Tom Sawyer, and he wrote another book about Huckleberry Finn. And he wrote other books about Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer together.
I think Moose might be in the background.
Say what?
I think Moose might be in the background.
Why is that?
Because he posted the same thing twice.
Oh, yeah. Is he restreaming, you mean?
Yeah, he might.
That's usually how that works. Is somebody's restreaming, so they put it in their chat and it comes out in both chats. But that's okay. It's important information. It needs to be restreamed. That's what I ask, you know. Hey, if you want to restream, everybody get a StreamYard and restream this shit. It's just as good as sharing. So bring it out and get it out there.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing something myself on Monday. I have Monday off, so I'm going to go take a bus, get an all-day bus pass, and go down downtown and go live in the town hall and police department and all public areas. See what I find.
Awesome. Yeah, Moose. If you want to restream, I have no problem with it. This is why I do this. Just make sure you share my PayPal link, sucker. But yeah, it says he may have just put the comment in twice because it came across at 2 different times. He says he's not restreaming, but yeah, restream, motherfucker. Anyway, unless you got anything else.
Look in private chat. But other than that, no.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and close her down then. And so with that, folks, you know I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back or not. So may God bless you and have a good night.